Okay, let's dive right in. Imagine a terror plot so audacious it targets one of the most sacred religious events in the world. Now get this, the full story, the confirmation, doesn't come out for decades. And when it does, it's not in some declassified file, it's revealed on live television. Today, we are opening Case File 1986, the Hajj bomb plot. It's a wild story of espionage, a massive cover-up, and one confession that changed everything.
Now, before we get into the weeds, I want to be crystal clear about something. A story like this has a lot of moving parts, and it's absolutely crucial we stick to the facts. So everything you're about to see and hear is pulled directly from authentic historical records and documented reports. We're not here to guess, we're here to lay out what the evidence actually tells us.
So what makes this case just so unbelievable? It's not just the sheer scale of the plot itself, but how the truth finally came out. I mean, think about it. This wasn't some leak from a spy or a dusty document found in an archive. Nope. This was a full-blown public confession broadcast for anyone and everyone to see that just blew the lid off a secret that had been buried for decades. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a movie, not on the evening news.
Right, so our story doesn't actually start in 1986. It starts years later, in a place you would never ever expect a confession like this to happen, a popular talk show on Iranian television. And this wasn't some accidental slip-up. This was a deliberate, calculated revelation.
And the man who dropped this bombshell? He was no ordinary person. This was Mullah Ahmed Montazeri, the son of one of Iran's most powerful and respected clerics. So when he sat down on this program, Kasht Kam, his words carried enormous weight. And what he had to say? Well, it sent absolute shockwaves through the entire country.
And there it is, the heart of his confession. Montazeri stated, point blank, that explosives had been hidden inside the luggage of pilgrims headed to the Hajj. But here's the most chilling part. The pilgrims themselves had absolutely no idea. They were being used as unwitting mules in a terror plot.
Okay, so with that bombshell of a confession in our back pocket, we can finally rewind the clock to 1986 and see what actually happened during that Hajj season. What exactly was the plan? And, how close did it really come to succeeding?
So, according to the reports, here's how the operation was supposed to go down. First, operatives from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, hid sophisticated explosives in the bags of ordinary pilgrims. These people then flew to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj, totally unaware of the deadly cargo they were carrying. But this is where the plot started to unravel. During what should have been a routine baggage screening, Saudi security officials found the devices. The plot was discovered, the explosives were neutralized, and an absolute catastrophe was avoided.
100. Just let that number sink in for a second. We're talking about roughly 100 innocent people, many of them elderly men and women who were on the most important spiritual journey of their lives. And their pilgrimage was weaponized, turned into a delivery system for terror, completely without their knowledge.
And make no mistake, this wasn't random. The targets were the very heart of Islam, the holy sites in Mecca and Medina. And the timing? During the Hajj, the most sacred period in the Islamic calendar. An attack like this would have been an unbelievable desecration, killing potentially thousands of worshippers from all over the world and sending a shockwave of horror across the globe.
So a plot this big, this sophisticated, it really makes you ask the question, right? Who was behind all this? Who was pulling the strings? Well, thanks to the source material, we can actually trace the chain of command, from the people planting the bombs all the way up to the highest levels of power.
The reports lay it out as a classic top-down operation. The order, they say, came directly from Ali Khamenei, who was then a very powerful figure and would later become the supreme leader. The organization tasked with carrying it out? The IRGC, the regime's elite military force. And the man in charge of the actual execution, getting the explosives into those bags, was identified as a senior IRGC official named Mehdi Hassemi.
You'd think that stopping the plot would be the end of the story, right? Not even close. The aftermath, especially once the confession came out, created a massive political firestorm inside Iran. It exposed some really deep cracks within the regime itself.
And the criticism from inside was just scathing. This quote here is from a letter written by the senior cleric Hossein Ali Montazeri. Yep, the father of the guy who later made the TV confession. He wrote that this plot lost the dignity of Iran in the eyes of Saudi Arabia. I mean, that is a huge deal. This wasn't some critic on the outside. This was a man at the very heart of the establishment, and he was revealing this massive internal fight over the regime's tactics.
So what do we even call something like this? The sources use a very specific term: state-sponsored terrorism. And why is that? Well, because the evidence all points to an official government body, the IRGC, using the state's resources to plan and carry out a terror attack against civilians during a holy pilgrimage. This wasn't some rogue group acting alone. This was an act of a state.
All right, let's pull all these threads together. We've looked at the confession, we've walked through the plot, we've seen the fallout. Now, let's just quickly review the key findings from our case file on the 1986 Hajj plot.
So, to recap the whole thing, the plot was a plan to bomb the Hajj. The method was hiding explosives in the luggage of about 100 pilgrims who had no idea. The group behind it was Iran's IRGC, with the chain of command allegedly going all the way up to Ali Khamenei. The good news? It was foiled by Saudi security. And the crazy twist? It was all confirmed years later, live on Iranian television.
As we said at the very beginning, our goal here is just to present the facts as they've been reported. For anyone who wants to go and dig into this even deeper, here are the sources we use to piece this all together. We think it's important to be transparent, so please, feel free to check them out for yourself.
You know, the story of this 1986 plot is a powerful reminder that history isn't always set in stone. Sometimes, all it takes is one person deciding to speak up, one confession on a random talk show, to completely change what we thought we knew about the past. And it just leaves you with this one big question. What other major events in our history are just one confession away from being totally rewritten?